This video is going to be a little different than most of my videos because a lot of my videos, I talk about unique self as the worldview, as a framework, as a technology for transformation. I talk about vertical development, leadership maturity, how do we show up in our professional leadership lives to respond to what's most needed and to step up, transform our worldview when we're in over our heads, and how do we expand our identity to meet the needs and the complexity of our professional environment. So I often do videos and blog posts on the kind of the professional leadership maturity side and the personal unique self emergence side. And today I'm going to get a little bit more personal and vulnerable a little bit. Maybe a lot of it, I don't know. So I've been working with various chronic illnesses since 2006 or 7. And you can just sort of generally call it fibromyalgia, which, by the way, very few men are considered diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So whatever that says. And what that means is I go through phases. I'm generally just a very sensitive nervous system. And I go through waves. I call them fibro phases. When I'm at my lowest, or when my nervous system kind of collapses and I experience a fibro phase, I used to get these all the time. And at one point, well, I'll just tell you what happens. So then I get fatigued. My whole body gets fatigued. I have less energy, less physical energy. My muscles get achy. I feel aches all over. A lot of twitching tends to happen. My brain fog, I get brain fog, so it's hard to think. I often go through anxiety and depression cycles with that. What else? Sleeplessness, insomnia, digestive issues, sensitivities. And so this video, I want to talk about how to make sense of chronic illness. How can unique self emergence actually transform our experience of and our sense making around chronic illness? Millions of people face chronic illness every day. I think 1 in 4 people are on some sort of, or have some sort of chronic illness. Maybe there's even higher. Oh, another symptom when I'm in fibro phase is my attention span is kind of like all over the place. It's harder to make decisions. It's harder to kind of drive towards decisions. And even right now, you can tell I'm a little bit in it, right? I'm kind of like flowy. So I want to go through a little process to unlock the deeper potentiality of chronic illness. And my intention is, of course, it's always to start with myself. And I've been doing this already on my own for many years. I've been transforming the experience of chronic illness over and over. Every time I've gone through these phases, it's shaken me up and it's required me to go deeper. And my intention is to kind of open that up to anyone and everyone else so that the millions of people facing chronic illness don't see it as a death sentence or don't see it as a problem per se, but can actually deepen their experience of themselves and actually use it as a catalyst for experiencing the most profound meaning, purpose, and actually radical aliveness than anything imaginable. And that precisely because of, not in spite of, but because of the chronic condition, you have access to more profound meaning, more profound purpose, and more radical aliveness than you otherwise would. So that's my intention. And as a way to do that, it's helpful in Unique Self Emergence to go through the 4 selves, or maybe the 5 selves. And the 5 selves are, basically, by selves I mean, who am I? So if you're experiencing a chronic illness, who is the one experiencing this illness? It makes all the difference in the world. And the 5 selves are the separate self, the ego, which experiences itself as separate and dissociated from a larger field, separate self. The false self, which is part of the separate self, but it's kind of a distinct self because it has such a profound, it's very an intense experience of a self. It comes out when we're triggered and we go into an emotional hijacking, and early childhood conditioning and messages and reactivity that we've experienced that bring us to these little voices like the false self of I don't belong, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I'm, et cetera, like all those different voices that kind of really distort our perception of the world and of ourselves. So the false self, the true self, and by true self we mean the one, right? The source of all existence, the field of consciousness, if you want to call it that, or the field of intimacy and desire. It's the field that gives rise to all manifestation. The one interconnected field that we have access to when we tap into our awareness, the awareness of our awareness. The deeper we go, the closer we get into touch with true self, our essence, which is the total number of true selves is 1. Right? It's all that is. So that's true self. And then unique self is the realization that you are an irreducibly unique expression, meaning irreducibly, meaning you can't name it and have it all figured out. You can't freeze an identity and say that's who you are. So you're irreducible. No single word can reduce who you are. You're an irreducibly unique expression of that true self, of the one field, the interconnected field of consciousness. You are awareness of awareness, but having a unique experience of you. You are all that is, all of reality, uniquely having thoughts through your thoughts, feelings through your feelings, sensations through your sensations. And this moment is an irreducibly unique moment in time, that you are an irreducibly unique expression of the love intelligence, because the field is also intelligent. It's love intelligence and love desire. That is the initiating and animating eros that lives in you, as you, and through you. That never was, is, or will be ever again, other than through you, here, now. So you are a unique self. You have a unique perspective that no one has. You have a unique quality of presence, a unique intimacy that foster your unique gifts. And your unique gifts can only be given by you and that are needed within your unique circle of influence and intimacy. That's what it means to be a unique self. And then the fifth self is evolutionary unique self. That's when we realize, oh, I'm not just all of reality. I'm not just the one. I'm the one manifest in evolution. That all of reality is always unfolding, evolving toward more wholeness, more interconnectivity, more radical aliveness. That there are plot lines in the cosmos, that reality is not a fact, it's a story. And by the way, all this is coming from Dr. Mark Gaffney, mediated through my unique experience. That's parentheses. And all of evolution is therefore having a unique experience as you. All of evolution. So you are evolution having a you experience. Evolution, 13.8 billion years in the making, brought everything to this moment as you. What a gift. What a gift. And that your personal story, your personal love story, your personal unfolding, your personal evolution is participating in the evolution of all that is, evolution of all of reality, of these 13.8 billion years that are continuing to evolve. Everything is evolving. Everything. We don't see it. We can't see it all the time. We have narrow perceptions, right? So it's hard to notice it. But when we're waking up as evolutionary unique self, we experience ourselves as participating in the throbbing desire that evolution itself is longing through you and I. That our deepest heart's desire is evolution's desire. That the evolutionary impulse, the impulse to be more, to do more, to be bigger, to transform all that is actually living within all of us. So that's the 5 selves. And it's in a way, it's a progression. It's an evolutionary progression, but it's also, they're always all present all the time. It's just most of the time they're unconscious. So I'd like to go through these 5 selves within the content of chronic illness. So let's say you have chronic illness. Maybe you have fibromyalgia. Maybe you have chronic fatigue. Maybe you have, gut stuff. Maybe you have celiac disease. Maybe you have anxiety, depression. I'm just wanting to tap into chronic illness. Maybe you have chronic pulmonary, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Maybe you have a degenerative condition like Alzheimer's. Maybe you have Parkinson's. Maybe you have arthritis all over, or in particular spaces. Maybe you have bipolar disorder. Maybe you have, there's so many chronic illnesses. Okay, and so many people have these, right? So let's start off as the separate self and the false self. So the separate self experiences pain, anxiety, depression, discomfort of all kinds in these chronic illnesses and says, oh, shoot, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I'm not feeling well, and I don't have value. I don't matter. When I can't perform, when I can't show up and be totally focused and energized and creative and got everything figured out, when I don't have everything organized in my life, then I am worthless. This is what the separate self does, and the false self is there to really magnify all these. There's an impulse that the separate self always has, is that I need to get back to my comfort zone. If I could only go back to what it was like, right? If I only could preserve this static condition of comfort. So I'm going to do everything I can to make myself comfortable. Or if I could only find that magic fix, give me a drug, I need a new drug. If only I had that pill, give me the pill, right? I'm going to go to, this practitioner because they promise that I'm going to be cured. The Ayurveda thing says if I only do all these 5 or 6 things, then I can fix my problem, right? The fact is, as a separate self, I think of it as a problem to fix. And that until I fix the problem, I'm suffering, right? Or if I can't show up in groups of people and be connected and fun and talkative and helpful, then I don't belong there. That there's something wrong with me. And so I have to avoid those situations at all cost. Or when I'm in those situations, I can't help but tell everyone how I just can't be doing this or that, and I'm so sorry, I apologize, and or I force myself to fit in by just taking medicines or medications, or I take like a 5-hour energy because I need to perform in a group. So I kind of force my body to show up, right? And so I do everything I can as a separate self. I do everything I can to push through the fatigue, to push through the pain, to cover it up. I numb it. So maybe I take medications to numb the pain, or drugs or supplements, or I take superfood powder and anything possible to show up in my 9-to-5 job. Because if I don't, I can't survive. I won't make it. If I can't show up fully all the time, I won't survive. There's a fear of death, ultimately. There's a fear of I could disappear. I could die. I could be annihilated. Somehow my life could be worthless in this state of chronic fatigue, chronic illness. And pain reinforces, or whatever symptoms I have, reinforces the belief that the world is not safe, the world is not friendly, that I'm not welcome here, that I don't belong, that I'm feeling alienated from life. So that's the separate self. That's the separate self. Now, what do we do with that? Well, a lot of times when we're in chronic illness, we beat ourselves up. Why are you like this? Why can't you just be like that? Even if we say, no, you belong. Like, why can't you, why do you so hate yourself so much? Or why are you so, why do you complain so much, right? There's a way in which there's a little inner battle that happens from the separate self to the separate self. It's like this inner, I'm not right and I've fucked it up. I'm screwed up. Right? But in unique self-emergence, we don't do that. We first and foremost, we become present to what is. So we just name what's happening in our being, in our body, in our heart, in our mind. Just name it. So, I feel twitching in my eyes. I feel pain in the back of my head. My fingers are cold. Feelings. Feeling down, sad, unmotivated. Thoughts. Maybe my thought, right now I'm thinking about this particular video, but maybe my thoughts are, I've got to get this right, or I'm not lovable, or I can't do this, or whatever the thoughts are. Maybe there's a thought, there's several thoughts against each other, right? Like, I can't do this, and why can't you just stop complaining, right? Maybe there's 2 voices like that. So just naming it, first and foremost, becoming present to what is. And then secondly is inviting compassion, being curious. What would it be like if there was a little more compassion in my being right now? What would it be like? Just curiosity. We even have a little, we use the metta affirmation, METTA, metta affirmation. So we say, may I hold myself with tenderness right now. May I hold myself with kindness right now. May I hold myself with compassion right now. Just an intention. And so we just be with what is. Invite compassion. And we sit in it. And if we continue to invite compassion and curiosity and presence, eventually, I promise, eventually, we open up, we soften, and we step into true self. We anchor ourselves in a deeper presence, in a deeper source. So you might notice right now I'm speaking a little bit more slowly and softly. And in a sense, when you're in true self, words don't really need to be said. There's a quality of okayness. There's a quality of just settling. There's a realization that actually I am value. Not only am I valuable, but I am value. Like I'm actually drenched in value. I'm drenched in consciousness, if you will. I'm drenched in love. So just a moment ago, when I invited a little bit more compassion into my being, right? When we do that, we're not just giving ourselves compassion. We are literally inviting the entire field of love. Evolutionary love, we call it, or outrageous love, Dr. Mark Gaffney's phrase. We invite the entire field of love to enter into our being, every nook and cranny, right? Dr. Mark says, love is not hard to find. Love is impossible to avoid. We're literally immersed in this field of love. And if there's any part of you that's like, no, I can't, like that's BS, or fuck that, blah, 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 just bring presence and compassion to that. Just notice, oh, there's a little voice. Fuck that, I don't believe that, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Right? Oh, there it is, there's a voice. And what's the feeling? Oh, there's a tension here. What's the sensation? Heat in my jaw or something, right? And so we invite compassion, and anytime something comes up, we just continue to be present, invite compassion, and we experience ourselves beyond the ego. We experience ourselves as no longer identified with this skin-encapsulated separate self that feels all these things, that believes all these things. We are more than that. So we actually hold a wider identity, a deeper identity. Right? We can actually let go of the belief that I've got to do it all myself. Right? We can let go of the rat race. We can let go of additional kind of shame or guilt that it's my fault. We can realize that, there's so much outside of my control. Right? There's actually so many factors. We're all interconnected. And, toxins that other people spewed into the air, into the water, into our food have unavoidably come into my, my being and I didn't do that. Right? We can acknowledge that it's not all up to us in this small skin encapsulated ego, that we're woven into the field of reality and everything is impacting everything else. Right? So just here as I am, just this, I am value. I am love. It's actually my true nature. I don't need to do anything to be of value. Love is always available. And it's a direct experience. It's not an idea. I'm not identified with the pain, with the anxiety, with the depression. I can see it. Oh, there it is. And if I can see it, well, that would mean that I'm not it, that I'm actually something more. All right? Here in this space, we can also just be present to the realization that everything is impermanent. Everything's always changing. Everything's always in flux. So experiences come, experiences go. Pain comes, pain goes. Pain comes, pain goes. Thoughts about, whatever. Anxiety comes, anxiety goes. It'll all pass. Because I am not my body merely. I am not my feelings. I am not my thoughts. Who am I? Who am I? And we can just rest in this, really as long as we want. Just questioning, oh, who am I? Who am I? And in this place of true self, this placeless place, we can experience first person true self. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? I am not, I am not, I am not. We can also look at the world and be curious about how the world around us is interconnected. Right? We can actually perceive the miraculous interconnectivity of all things. We can look at the ecosystem around us and just see how every death is a rebirth. Every death actually composts something else. We can look for the ways that everything is already perfect in some way, that there's an elegant order, there's an ultimate wholeness, there's an ultimate perfection at some level, always. And we can just let ourselves soak it in. Let ourselves soak it in. Let ourselves soak it in. And in a sense, there's a part of me that just wants to stay here. The only thing about it is that we know that's not the end of the story. How do we know this? Because as much as I may say that, and I'm not my body, I'm not my thought. Oh, wait, let's go back a little bit. We can also turn toward true self, the field. So we can experience it first person. We can look at it in third person. We can also turn toward reality and experience not only that we live in this outrageous love field, but when we turn toward the second person of that same field, we are in love with the beloved. We can actually fall in love and feel held. We can look towards the beloved who always gazes into our eyes and says, I love you madly, that no matter where you fall, I am here to catch you. It says, every place you go, I am there. That you belong to me, that you matter to me, that I love you immensely, beyond imagination. Give me your tears, give me your joy, give it all to me, offer it up. I am your lover, I'm your beloved, I'm your partner. So we can turn towards that same field in the second person. And really this is we can call it a spiritual practice, but I don't even like to use the word spiritual anymore because it's just the nature of reality. It's actually just the most real, right? It's actually just who I am, who you are, who we are, what is. It's just the most ultimately true realization of reality. In any case, we know that this is not the whole truth because, there also is a very particular experience of myself. So I'm not my body, I'm not my feelings, I'm not my thoughts, but every morning I wake up and there they are again. And maybe there's new feelings and new sensations and new thoughts, but there appears to be an experience of myself that is persistent. It's like, oh, okay. So there's the entirety of the field, there's the true self, and then there's my experience, my unique experience. So that entire field, the awareness of awareness, if you will, the consciousness is having a unique experience. So if you notice that, oh, here you are, here I am. And so I can realize I am a unique expression of the field of love intelligence and love desire. I'm a unique experience of consciousness. I'm reality having a unique set of sensations, feelings, thoughts, desires, needs. So that means that I'm intended. The fact that I'm here means that I'm intended, that I matter, and that, again, everywhere I fall into the arms of the beloved. Every detour is a destination, that there's no ultimate mistake. So we can look at our lives and say, okay, well, this is not a mistake. If I'm a unique self, I'm a unique expression of the one, that means there's something I can learn here. There's something I can discover. There's actually a gift, that miracles are possible in every moment, that every moment actually is a miracle. And so I can just be curious and ask myself, well, interesting. What am I learning here? How is this pain? How is this anxiety? How is this depression teaching me something? What is information that I can gather from this? How is this a gift? Could it be a gift? And again, if there's a part of me that's like, no, fuck that, I'm sick of this. Well, just, again, be present. Oh, you're angry. Oh, okay, there's anger there. There's discouragement. There's blah, 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 whatever there is. Continue to bring presence and compassion to whatever comes up. This is how we ultimately realize our unique selves. And so we look, and I ask, how is this a gift? Well, let me just say from my experience. One is having chronic pain, fibromyalgia, actually gives me access to empathy. It helps me empathize with other people when they're in pain. And everyone always has pain at some point. It's actually a human condition. It's also helped me to let go of who I thought I was and actually go deeper. So it's sort of like I let go of the superficial and I experience the depth. I let go of kind of superficial jobs that just give me a paycheck but don't actually speak to my heart. And I go deeper. What do I really want? I also notice that when I'm in relationship with someone over the long haul, that I actually could take the long arc view of things, and I invite an expansion of time, a dilation of time. So if I'm in a friendship with you, over time, my heart and my intimacy, my goodness, my love, my gift will be given. If I'm a leadership coach, I can be with you in the great times and the hard times, And in both of those times, I can be weaving something greater. I can actually help. I don't want to jump ahead here, but I can help participate in evolution with you. So I'm always able to be, over the long haul, facilitating growth and transformation. Also, this chronic pain has compelled me to have a healthy lifestyle and to learn about how the body works and learn about toxins and learn about my genetics and eat healthy, lots of vegetables, right? I've discovered the ketogenic diet and the importance of a low-carb lifestyle, right? There's a quick feedback loop from when I eat something to how it makes me feel. And so it's like, oh, I become in tune with my body's rhythms and my body's needs. And so pain and any symptom of a chronic illness becomes not a problem, but a signal, becomes information. Let's keep going though. As a unique self, I'm not separate. I'm actually woven into the fabric of reality, and I'm a unique node in that fabric of reality. So I can actually expand my heart and feel every single person in the world, at least in my imagination, right? Or at least my intention, who has an experience of that chronic illness. So every single person that experiences fibromyalgia, there's something like 5 million, or is it 5%? I don't remember, of Americans have fibromyalgia. Like the pain, and the people that walk around and go to the supermarket, and my coworkers and clients, like, wow, people are experiencing pain all the time. I'm not alone, and they're not alone. And so I can actually pause and ask myself, what do I care about from this place? What matters? And in some senses, I can speak for the millions of other people who haven't been able to ask that question, haven't been able to tap into their deepest care and concern. And then I can ask, so in other words, in my case, what I care about is human thriving, right? And this is the important part. This is kind of like the golden piece of unique self teaching. The unique self question is, what is needed right now? What does reality need right now? And we listen, right? Because we've already befriended the ego, the separate self. We've become aware of all those things, be present to it. We brought in compassion. We've tapped into the field of love intelligence and love beauty and love desire, the outrageous love field. And from this place, we can really listen. What is needed right now? If reality itself is having a unique experience, that means reality needs something, wants something, desires something. So what's needed? And the interesting thing is we go back to all those stories that the separate self kind of came up with. Remember those? That if I'm not feeling well, I don't have value. If I can't perform, I'm worthless, right? If I just could go back to my comfort zone, we can go back to those stories, but now transform them in a whole different level, not from separate self, but unique self. So let's look at some of them. The story of when I'm not feeling well, I don't have value. Well, if we look at it from a unique self perspective, we can say that, oh, it may be the case that I don't always have economic value in the conventional world, in the particular corporate world, but I have ultimate value, and that I'm always able to be valuable to the world. It just may not be within the conventional confines. How about the other one? When I can't perform, I'm worthless. As a unique self, we realize that actually vulnerability invites connection. So could it be the case that with some people, a lot of people in my life, my softness, my openness in the states of, fibromyalgia, for example, actually could invite connection, can invite safety from other people and trust. How about the thing that the separate self says is, if I could only get back to my comfort zone, right? And then it'll all be better. We can uncover the piece of that, which is the spark of truth, which is that, I do have limits. And so it's important to know my limits and participate in a dynamic balance of an ecosystem that I'm part of, right? How about this belief that if I could only find that magic fix, that one thing to stop the discomfort, then everything will be better. How do I solve this problem? That one magic fix. Well, the spark of truth is that there actually may be something that I need. Maybe a nutrient, maybe a healing modality, maybe a supplement, maybe even a medication. But this time, as a unique self, we're not expecting one problem to be solved by one solution. We realize that we exist in a complex system of interacting dynamics. And so the question becomes, what is needed to support whole system flourishing? And it may be many things, right? And it may simply be rest, right? And so it's a dynamic, flourishing system that we're interested in. We're not trying to solve a problem. How about the idea that if I can't show up with people, I don't belong in that group? And as unique self, we realize that actually we don't always have to be giving, that receiving is also a gift. And so if we invite someone to offer their gift to us, to receive support when we need it, then that can be a gift. Now, a unique self is in this dynamic, right, of giving and receiving. They're both important. And so even in the hardest of the lowest of the low parts of myself, there's always a moment. Even if I'm in the worst moments, I can choose love. I can choose joy. And it's unique in every moment. So it may not look like you think it should look like. But there's always an invitation to show up with love and with joy. How about this belief that, pain is a sign that the world is not friendly, that it's not safe, I don't belong in this world. And the spark of truth to that is that Dr. Mark's phrase, right? We live in a world of outrageous pain. That's true. There's so much pain. And with outrageous pain, the only response is outrageous love. Right? So we can protest that the world is not fair, that the world is not safe for everyone, that the world is not healthy, and it shouldn't be this way. And we can actually offer holy rage, holy protest as an expression of our unique essence. It brings tears to my eyes. We can protest as a prayer. How about the belief that I've got to push through the fatigue, I've got to hustle and take anything that's medicines or drugs or superfoods that I can to get me to perform and show up to my 9-to-5 job. So the spark of truth in that we can take as part of the whole, but not as the only thing, but the spark of truth is basically like, get over yourself, get over your pain. Do whatever it takes to show up and do what's needed. There's needs around you, and as imperfect as you are, you can still show up and make a difference. And so stop complaining, right? It's like there's a point at which, again, all of these are sparks of truth that are held in a field of truths, a field of value. There's multiple perspectives within this that we can hold, and that's what a unique self can do. A unique self is not fixated on one belief, one voice, one perspective, one complaint, whatever it is, right? We actually can hold all of these, and the deepest voice that we can choose is the voice of love and joy. And so all this is to say that the unique self is able to hold paradox. The unique self can hold the paradox of this imperfect yet perfect world. So we can hold the paradox between being and doing. That there's always times when we can do, and there's always times that we can just be. We hold the paradox between activity and rest. We need both of them. We hold the paradox between self-care and self-transcendence. Get over yourself. We can hold the paradox between receiving and giving support. We navigate these polarities because the unique self is woven into the field of value, which means, and values come in pairs mostly. Values come in a dialectical polarity, and both of them are needed. And so we can honor our limits at times, and we can also push through our limits. And we need both capacities. And we listen for what's needed. We also can hold the paradox of accepting what is and seeking improvement. Right? So the separate self gets fixated. The unique self is free, even in the pain. And as Dr. Mark says often, even when we fall apart and we collapse and we're decimated, we do so uniquely. And when we do so uniquely, we are still woven into the fabric of reality, and we still can love and give our gifts. Even in the depths of despair and pain, there's always a unique response, unique self-response. We're not at the end, though. There's the fifth self, and that's the evolutionary unique self. And the evolutionary unique self, we realize that I'm not just an irreducibly unique expression of the love intelligence and love beauty and love desire of the one true self that gives rise to all things. I am a unique expression of the evolution of all that is. And that I live within an evolutionary context. And when I'm stepping into my evolutionary unique self, I'm continually evolving my intention to go deeper and deeper and bigger and bigger. What's my biggest intention is for the sake of the evolution of all that is. So may this next action or inaction be for the sake of evolution of all that is. What is evolution? Evolution is the movement, the allurement of all that is towards more wholeness, more interconnectivity, deeper contact, greater wholeness, and more aliveness. Evolution is moving towards more creativity. Evolution is moving towards more love. Evolution is moving towards more uniqueness. Evolution is moving towards more goodness. At least the arc of evolution. It always meanders and it goes back, but it's a spiral that ultimately is moving forward. And so what's really beautiful at this moment is that, my healing journey, let's say, with chronic illness, is an evolutionary journey. So it's part of an unfolding. And every place we go, it's part of the journey. Also, our personal evolution is part of the evolution of all that is. And to the extent that I can heal or transform my experience of myself, I do so on behalf of millions of people, or maybe even billions of people that are experiencing the same kind of illness, challenge, suffering. Right? That's the intention. It actually connects us with something larger. And when we're able to tap into our evolutionary unique selves, we can feel allurement toward other evolutionary unique selves other people who have tapped into, have tasted, have realized that they're not a separate self. They're not even merely a true self, but they are a unique expression. They may not have the same language, but they are coming from essence. They're not coming from ego. And that we can come together, and that we actually have gifts that the other doesn't have, that we can synergize and share a common intention towards the evolution and transformation of a larger field, of the whole itself. And that is the source of the greatest aliveness, the greatest, deepest meaning, purpose. And so maybe what I've come to, partly how I got to this work is because I had a lot of anxiety and repression, and I think that related to the original chronic pain that I experienced, and that has taken me to a path of helping others to discover who they really are, and to experience their aliveness and to find purpose, even in the chronic illness. And right now so let's see, how do I bring this video to a close? What I'll say is that unique self is a fundamental identity. And being fundamental, it means that it actually, no matter what domain, it is ever present in all domains. And so it can be applied, if you will, to any domain. I happen to mostly apply it to leadership and unique self evolution kind of as a whole. Unique Self Emergence. But right now I'm actually really interested in what would it be like to specifically apply Unique Self Emergence to those who have chronic illness, and actually start doing a group, a course, something. And I just would be interested in that. What would it be like if I could offer Unique Self Emergence for chronic illness? It's interesting idea. So if you've listened to this, which many people haven't because it's too long, I hope that you've experienced a little bit of a glimpse of a possibility. And may you know that you are loved and held, and you have so much to offer, and the world needs you.